Right.
Well, it was a very exciting time.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Well, let's talk to Spencer Tillman joining us here, as we said, scheduled to do. Fox Sports college football analyst. Played the game, Oklahoma Sooner, in addition to Houston Oiler, and now one of our favorite analysts. Spencer, how you doing, man?
Good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and I appreciate you coming by and talking with us. First of all, you watching your phone on signing day stuff and seeing what all is going on. You pay attention to that madness, or no?
Absolutely, I have to pay attention to it. We get the fun part of seeing on the college side these guys move
Thank
from
you,
high
guys.
school to college,
Appreciate
and
it.
then get a chance for those that do make it to the national football game. And it's really fun to watch them manage that whole process. And for some of them, it's kind of directed. They're not going to make it to the national football, so you want to see how they do it. Like, that's kind of cool.
What was it like? How much press was there when you were getting recruited?
That's a great question. Obviously, we didn't have all the multiple platforms that you have in this fractured media universe that we have today. So the media scrutiny was not there as much. But I think the emotion of it all was all relative. We had friends, we had parents that were key parts of our success, that we wanted to be a part of that process. So that part was still fun and important. And in that regard, it was no less. It's just that more people know about it today and share that. And then there may be a little bit more heightened awareness because of the money that's involved on the collegiate side. And because that is there, the stakes are higher. I'm just not so sure how much the athlete feels it relative to that side. I mean, you ask somebody on the college side, they're making a bunch of money these days. Juxtaposed when I was growing up, and they feel that pressure.
We're talking to Spencer Tillman, college football analyst for Fox Sports. In Kansas City, Big 12 countries, obviously near and dear to us. We're not seeing Texas and Oklahoma up at the top the way we used to. And the Sooners, right now, we're kind of tracking and following where everybody is. As each signing comes in, they're restacking the class. And Oklahoma's just outside the top 20 right now. I think they're going to end up right around there. But the old days, OU was 1, 2, or 3.
No question.
Are those days just gone, or?
I got beaten, taken to task for being critical of the University of Oklahoma for myriad reasons, and they got lucky. Lincoln Riley's hiring, this great concept. He's a young guru at East Carolina. He did a lot of great things. Shane Martin, I think, was the name of the quarterback he had as an outside dark horse for Heisman because of the numbers. And so you parlay that into some great success. He didn't change defensive coordinators, which in my opinion should have happened. But you have enough talent to overcome that. And I think with that change in offense, Bob Stoops really coached well, particularly in light of all of the stuff that preceded that off-campus unrest, racial issues, and all that. He navigated that space. But Oklahoma was not where it historically has been. And it needs to deal with that. That blip that they had, the nice recovery, has to be sustained, in my opinion, before that program can say it's back. And then Charlie Strong is dealing with a lot of issues big time in Texas, but he's going to recruit well. If they give him enough time, he's going to be fine. That's just my personal opinion. I've known him a long time. There were no drafted players the year he took over. The year that Mac Brown left, zero. Absolutely zero. So when you start to judge him, you have to consider the context. Whether or not people want to be informed and listen to that extent, that's something that we can talk about after the fact. But he certainly, once certain things fall into place, he's got a good enough offensive mind. That acquisition is very good. I think Texas is going to be back.
Yeah, I was, for a long time questioning why Charlie Strong wasn't getting a job. His resume was spectacular before Louisville finally stepped up and beat them.
We had two defensive coordinators that were co-coordinators there at Florida that got head coaching jobs before he did, and he was the author of 2 championships with different coaches. So, again, you read in that what you will, it left me scratching my head.
Well, what do you think of, Texas, and clearly when Mac Brown was there, they were getting the 1, 2, 3, 4 ranking in the classes. It wasn't translating as because we know the talent. It was overrated, basically. What's the likelihood that the talent he's getting right now is underrated? Because now there does seem to be a wave against Charlie Strong for whatever reason. The obvious being he's a black head coach for the first time at Texas.
And we need to have those open conversations and talk about what are the implications of that. I know friends and have people in high places, and I'll just use an example. David Bourne, the University of Florida president, myself and J.C. Watts sitting in his office in the wake of the SAE issue issue that was
Right.
returned. And David Warren was literally shocked and surprised that it had happened. And I said, well, David, you shouldn't be shocked. I said, number one, of the 42 positions you have in your executive committee, there are no minorities. Absolutely none whatsoever. And so by extension, that ultimately you have 72% of the players on your football team in starting capacity have to be players of color. 99% of them on your basketball team are players of color. So what that says is you're good enough to play on our fields and on our courts, but not good enough to be part of the leadership. And again, as difficult as that is to hear, nobody wants to hear that. And I'm not accusing him of anything. What I'm saying is we all have bias. And I gave him a new definition. I said, here's what you need to look at when you start talking about bias. Racism, and it's a nasty word, but it's prejudice plus power. When your bias plays out in your hiring practices or not hiring, then you have to question whether or not you truly are racist. That's exactly what it is. And we have to think of white-clad people running around yelling at us. No, that's not what racism is. That's obvious. We're not if you read that. What we're talking about is subtle kind of things like a Tim Wolf, where he makes a statement in his leaked letter that Gary Tillman made a mistake and failed to teach his football players. He didn't use student athletes in that context, but he failed to teach his football players a lesson. He didn't say what that lesson was, but that's how racism today, in a sophisticated way, articulates itself.
And you're saying that was obviously a big topic for us when that was going on. You're saying that what the lesson was know your place.
Exactly. Know your place, and again, I'm still waiting for some emphasis on what that lesson was. You know, what that lesson was is you're an educated person.